The Silver Crown by Robert C. O'Brien, Chapter 30, Good Queen Ellen. Ellen had spoken in the clear voice of confidence, but she was not at all sure that what she said was true. She merely hoped it was, and as she watched the ominous group before her, she tried not to tremble. She scarcely dared look at the black-clad guards standing before the throne-room door. Within seconds they could charge forward and seize her, but they did not. Instead, as she watched, a quiet and wonderful change took place. All their attention had been riveted on the king. Now, one by one, they turned their eyes to her, and they did not move. More, their expressions changed. The grim hardness on their faces softened and melted away, and a few of them looked as if they might actually smile if they had not forgotten how. It was as if the emanations coming from the machine, until now so relentless and so harsh, had suddenly turned to something gentler and more cheerful, more human. Only Otto was not staring at Ellen. He was watching the others, and he too saw the change. "Ellen," he said in almost a whisper, "you've got them." "Have I?" she whispered back. "I hope so." Then, gathering her courage, she made the test. Somehow, she knew exactly what she wanted to do first. "Brother Michael," she said. "Yes, Your Majesty." She used the words simply, naturally, inevitably, yet they sent a surge of joy and relief through Ellen, for they meant that he, at least, now accepted her as the leader. She stole a look at the king. He was sitting bolt upright, motionless, with a dazed expression on his face. "If I give orders, you and the others will obey them." She worded it as a statement, but it came out as a question. "Yes, Your Majesty. We have no choice, as long as you wear the silver crown and we are in tune." "Then will you all stay in place exactly where you are until I give permission to move?" She knew what she must do, but now she hesitated, for she was afraid at this crucial moment to step away from the machine. "Otto," she said, "you'll have to help me." She knew Otto was not in tune, but she did not trust any of the others. Not for this. "Okay," said Otto. "What should I do?" "Open one of the windows, the one in the middle." Otto opened it easily. "Now take the black crown and throw it onto the screen outside the window." Ellen could not have explained exactly why she wanted this done, beyond the fact that she wanted to get the crown out of the throne room, out of the king's reach. But Otto asked no questions. He took the black crown to the window, watching the king warily as he went. Now all eyes in the room were on him. He was carrying what had been, until moments ago, the weapon of power, the symbol of authority for them all. Without hesitation, he tossed it in an accurate arc to the center of the screen, where it lay like a wreath of ebony. But not for long. In a moment, it turned before their eyes, a dull cherry red, then crimson, white, and finally a fiery, blinding blue. At last, with a muffled boom, like an underground explosion, it vanished. A cloud of purple smoke hung over the screen. In a wisp of late afternoon wind, it crawled slowly away over the castle grounds, over the black paths, and lost itself in the leaves of the forest. The little group in the throne room watched the cloud in fascination until it disappeared. Then the king, with a long and dreadful sigh, slumped to the floor and lay still. He had turned deadly pale, and his eyes were closed. "Otto," said Ellen in alarm. "Look at him. Is he dead?" Otto leaned over the fallen shape. "No, he's still breathing. Thank goodness," said Ellen. "Why do you care? He's horrible. Think of all the things he did." "No," said Ellen, "he's not horrible. You see, he didn't really do them. I expect when he recovers he'll turn out to be nice." Her statement puzzled Jenny and Otto, but she did not pause to explain it. Everyone in the room was looking at her expectantly, and she knew she had to start. Finally, being a real queen, she had to give her orders. She called on Brother Michael again. He was, she decided, to be her prime minister. He would also serve as her envoy to the outside world, but first there were urgent things to be done in the castle itself. "Brother Michael, do you know about Phase 4? "A little, Your Majesty." "You needn't say Your Majesty," Ellen said, though she rather liked it. "Do you know about the new Hieronymus machine being built?" "Up in the tower? Yes, miss." "Do you know about the malignite watches and dolls and the other things?" He did. "All that is to be stopped at once, and the machines that are nearly finished must be taken apart again." This was only the beginning of a series of instructions. Ellen gave them crisply and efficiently, as if she had had hours to think about them rather than minutes. The orders were, as many men as were necessary were to carry the king to a room where he could be locked in for Ellen was not sure what he would be like when he woke up. But he was to be made comfortable and looked after as necessary. All the classes were to be suspended. All routines other than classes would continue. Captain Julio was to be kept locked up and guarded. In tune or not, she did not trust him. Brother Michael listened carefully and then excused himself from the throne room. In a few minutes, 4 young men came in and carried off the still unconscious king. Half an hour later, Brother Michael returned to report that all orders had been carried out. The dismantling of the machines would take a few hours, but it was already underway. "Now," said Ellen, "I want to know about the road and the bus. Where does the driveway go that leads from the castle gate?" "It joins the road that leads over the pass. That road goes down to the highway. It isn't used anymore except by us." It must be, Ellen realized, the other end of the broken road that she and Otto had abandoned. "As soon as possible," Ellen said. "I want the bus and 2 drivers and you to go down the highway, find the police, and tell them we need help. And then I want you to make a telephone call." And she gave them her Aunt Sarah's name and address. For Ellen had been thinking hard, and though she did not know what to do with the strange establishment she had won, or rather she and Otto and Jenny had won, she could see at least one thing with certainty. She was going to need help. The fat man, whose job in the castle might be called captain of the guards, had been standing in silence all this time. Now he spoke. "There is one other order, Your Majesty, that you have forgotten," he said at last, and he at last remembered how to smile, for he smiled when he said it. Yet his words sent a feeling of dread through Ellen, for she half knew what he was going to say, and she was afraid to think about it. But she said, "And what is that?" "There are some prisoners still in the 4th sub-basement dungeon." The voices she had heard. "I think perhaps you know who they are, and that you will want them released." Now Ellen did begin to tremble. It was true, she hoped she knew who they were, and she dared not ask, nor hope too strongly, nor even think very much about it, for fear she might be wrong. Otto stared at her mystified, so did Jenny and even Brother Michael. The prisoners were, as Jenny had said, secret. Ellen said only, "Yes, please do release them," and she did not stop trembling, nor could she breathe properly, nor think clearly of anything at all, until the fat man reappeared. Behind him walked Ellen's mother, her father, and David and Dora. They looked tired and pale and rather dirty, but they were alive. The tired look gave way to disbelief, then to tears, and then quite a lot of laughter when they saw Ellen looking moistly queen-like, with her silver crown on her tangled hair, which, as her mother noted very soon, seemed not to have been combed in a month. Not many hours later, Ellen made a decision that only a queen could make. She made it alone, without advice from anyone. While she wore the crown, and while the machine was present in the castle, she ruled a kingdom, a small one, true, but within it she was an absolute monarch. As she gave orders and saw them obeyed, she grasped what the king had never quite said, and Jenny had only dimly perceived, that whoever wore the black crown was the slave of the machine, but whoever wore the silver crown was its master. She had, finally, subjects in a real castle, although it was a dreary place compared to the gay palace she had once dreamed of. She realized that if she had gone ahead, or let the machines go ahead, and finished building the other machines the king had shown her, she could have eventually ruled a very large kingdom indeed. But that idea was so repulsive, so horrible, that she put it out of her mind. For the machine was evil. She knew it was evil, even though it was now, in a sense, hers. It was evil not necessarily in itself, for how could a machine know good from bad, but because it was dangerous. And it was dangerous because it was too powerful, no matter who wore the crown, no matter who controlled it. And besides, she thought, suppose I should lose the crown. And she realized that until she came to the throne room and put on the crown, the machine must have been acting entirely on its own, unless perhaps it was acting on instructions given to it long ago by someone else wearing the same silver crown. In any case, it must not be allowed to happen again. So she reached her decision. She would abolish her kingdom forever. She would destroy the Hieronymus machine. Yet this must be done carefully. She had in her charge a full castle of people who had been completely dominated by the machine, some of them for years. Even now, while she was ruling, it was ruling them. She controlled them while the machine existed, but she did not know what they would do when they were suddenly freed. so she decided to wait until the police arrived. Meanwhile, she would get things ready. How to destroy it, thoroughly and forever, so that it could never be rebuilt? She remembered what the king had said about feedback, and she also remembered what had happened to the Black Crown. She summoned her captain of the guard and asked him, could the machine be carried? The fat man did not know. As long as he could recall, it had always been where it was, in the room with the golden door. But when he tried, he was able to lift one side of it by putting his hands under the obsidian base. It was heavy, however. 4 more guards were called, one to a corner with the fat man directing them. They wrestled it onto the elevator, down and out of the castle through the main door. They set it down outside the big screen and waited. Ellen stayed with them, and in a little while Otto and Jenny joined them. Thus it was that when the caravan arrived, led by Brother Michael in the bus, then 2 police cars, and a jeep containing a huge dog, a man dressed all in brown, and a beautiful golden-haired lady, they were greeted by a strange sight in front of the castle. 3 children, one a small girl wearing a silver crown, were directing 5 black-clad men as they lifted a strange glittering globe and placed it in the middle of a black screen. As they watched, the globe, which seemed to be surrounded by wires, flashed angrily in red and blinding violet, and then with a clap like thunder, vanished in a giant sphere of smoke. But the police, thinking they had seen some kind of bomb, leaped from their cars and ran forward, drawing their pistols as they came. There were 6 of them. They stopped when they reached the children. "You won't need guns. You won't need the guns," said the girl with the crown rather haughtily. "I have everything under control." Then, before the long explanations began, a beautiful and miraculous thing happened. Birds came. As the smoke cleared away, they flew in by the hundreds, by thousands, from the forest in every direction. They filled the air over the castle, soaring, twittering, diving, cheeping, cawing. A ballet and a chorus of joy at having got rid of the evil emanations. Among them flew a great flock of crows, and after a few low swoops of inspection, one of these detached itself from the rest and settled on Otto's shoulder. "Richard, eat," it said. End of chapter 30.